A1 Combat would like to remind everyone to log on to UFC Fight Pass at 7 p.m. to continue watching our main card featuring our main event, Alejandro Sanchez versus Eddie Hope for the A1 Combat Lightweight Championship. A1 Combat now concludes our prelim set for 3 5-minute rounds in the welterweight division. Introducing first, the Ayala Morgan Buzzard Personal Injury Attorneys, blue corner. At 5 feet 11 inches tall, weighing 170.2 pounds, making his A1 Combat debut with a professional record of 1 win, 2 losses. His win coming by second round knockout, representing Extreme Couture from Atlanta, Georgia, by way of Las Vegas, Nevada, Kris, the Senator Ruffin. And now introducing his opponent, fighting across the cage in the Ayala Morgan Buzzard Personal Injury red corner. 75 feet 11 inches tall, he weighed in at 173.9 pounds. Returning to A1 after a brutal second round finish in his A1 Combat debut, his record stands at 2 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. Representing Millennia MMA, he fights out of Riverside, California, Patrick the Kurgan Becker. Your referee, Herb Dean.
Herb Dean getting in our featured prelim. Pat Becker giving the pectorals a little bit of a show in that introduction. He seems fired up, Corey.
Yeah, one thing that interests me with Becker is he says that it all started with a fight in WEC, and 10 years later he is still looking for that perfect fight, which that's a hard ask in MMA. I don't think there's such thing as a perfect fight. There's way too many factors that can go wrong, so I think he might be fighting for a very long time. But, you know, Uriah Faber sat in close proximity to us. He's going to join us later for the main card, and that's one guy that knows about fighting until you're 60.
The Senator Kris Ruffin brought down to the canvas. He has been submitted twice. His pro losses all by submission. Pat Becker clearly doing his homework. 30 seconds in, not a great spot, Corey.
Yeah, straight on the back, no hanging around, which kind of surprised me given the Ruffin's collegiate wrestling background and the fact that he has had a lot of success with that. But Becker looking very strong here, especially given, like you say, the lack of preparation. But being a firefighter and having to be doing like such a manual job, I'm sure he's physically ready all year round.
Arm triangle potentially. Becker.
I feel like he's a little bit too high, but it's hard to see from this angle.
How can Kris Ruffin get out of this one and switch the momentum?
Yeah, he needs to work on getting that elbow back down. It's a very precarious position here, being against the cage. He needs to get side on. It's not very, it's not useful having your head on the cage because that allows Becker to kind of block him off a little bit. He needs to start working on getting that left elbow back, go side on the cage, start hip escaping back to the cage, but he is mounted here too, so he's going to have to start working on clearing one of those legs, which he has done, but he's off on the side of the arm triangle. I think that might be in.
The wildland firefighter Pat Becker has never notched a professional victory by way of submission. Can he find it here in the first round?
He's good. He gave the thumbs up. I think Becker's just a little bit too high on that arm triangle. You know, you have to be down low, like your head towards the shoulder. A lot of times people ride a little bit high on the tricep, and it becomes a little bit more cranky, which in MMA no one's really going to tap to that because, you know, there's a lot of pride on the line here. Great job from Ruffin to stay calm and composed in here. Becker's relentless with that, you know. I think we're looking, he cinched it back in.
Ooh.
This is a lot deeper this time.
Kris.
Ruffin's not really doing much to defend here. I feel like he's kind of almost banking on Becker giving up on the position, which isn't the best strategy to take. He's going to give up his back here, which is a perfect shot turning in.
Reversal for the Senator. He said that his game plan was hit Pat Becker until something happens, but here he is working on a front headlock, Corey.
Yeah, great job from Ruffin there to explode up. You know, sometimes you have to risk being in a slightly worse position. I mean, I would rather sit on my back rather than mount. So I think that was kind of like an educated risk there to give up his back and use that to scramble up and try to reverse position, which he did. And now we're back on the feet where he wanted to be.
2 minutes and 15 seconds remains in round number 1. This fight is brought to you by Tight Shirt Construction. Make sure you go check him out. Ruffin.
There is a cut across the nose of Becker there. I didn't quite see where that came from. Did you see?
I did not. Likely some grappling transition deep in. He likes to stay close, Pat Becker does. Feels like the game plan is definitely grapple, and grapple some more, Corey.
Yeah, definitely. Ruffin kind of hanging around on the neck there. I don't feel like he really has the choke set up. Becker's doing a good job of keeping his head tight. And he's straight back in that back position there. Ruffin needs to be very careful here, and kind of, I think he needs to, when he gets back up, if he gets back up, he's going to have to look for holding that center there, because he's just getting taken down against the cage. And I hate to say easily, but, you know, Becker is making it look like it's with ease.
Body triangle in for Becker, just under 90 seconds remains. Kris Ruffin did say that he moved to Extreme Couture since his last fight, trying to shore up some of those weaknesses and improve the grappling, and few better guys than the crew at Extreme Couture. Great stable up there, but still kind of a grappling deficit in round number 1.
Yeah, definitely a great camp to be trained out. Oh, beautiful job to turn in there. That was great. Good job here starting to pass that leg. Becker's doing a good job of staying active. Great job swimming that underhook. Beautiful technique here from both guys, you know, and a lot of times we don't see that from these bigger guys. This is a perfect exchange here.
And a grueling pace set. I mean, the exhaustion that Ruffin and Becker must be experiencing after 5 minutes of just hard rolling, Corey.
Yeah, Ruffin needs to be careful here fishing under that leg, you know, especially against the cage, because Becker's kind of got a little bit more to post on control, and at the end of the day, Ruffin's just tying up an arm, which is going to allow Becker to hit him. Good job starting to try to come out under the back door. I'm very impressed with Ruffin here from not settling and for constantly trying to engage in a scramble. He's looking to set up an omoplata here. Becker is totally aware and starts to cross over the body. Honestly, this is a great grappling exchange from both guys. Both guys are doing everything right. I'm very impressed here.
Beautiful transitions, a grappler's delight. Final 10 seconds. The Senator with a couple knees upstairs. Pat Becker doesn't like that.
No, I don't like to see him backing up here. He's keeping his head down and backing up. If anything, he needs to get his hips under him and start trying to get his head up. Pulling out of a position where you're getting kneed, that's a recipe for disaster. You know, you're just going to get kneed even more. I think that's definitely Becker's round. I don't think anybody's going to argue that with me. Do you have any opinions?
No, I agree with you on that one. Pat Becker, 10-9 in my opinion. But, you know, it was a close round. There was a lot of transitions back and forth. And while those submission attempts were applied by Pat Becker, sometimes you never know. That's a round where I'm glad that we're commentating and not judging. We take it to a quick replay of round number 1. Corey McKenna, break it down.
Yeah, I mean, Becker had beautiful timing on those takedowns. I was very impressed with Ruffin towards the end. You know, he did a great job of scrambling up, staying on top, and like kind of switching positions. And I feel like he had a lot more success towards the end of that round. So maybe, you know, he's warming up into this fight. And I feel like this is a very competitive grappling match between two high-level guys. I'm enjoying this. You know, I'm a huge grappling fan. I love seeing these exchanges from the guys. And there's a lot of technique on display here for tonight for everybody.
Pat Becker giving a smirk across the cage to Kris Ruffin, the Senator, seemingly happy as well. Herb Dean gets us going for round number 2 at 170 pounds. Pat Becker with a little bounce in the step. Headshot upstairs, partially blocked. The Senator taking the center.
Yeah, I like to see Ruffin taking the center here. I think that's going to help him a little bit with the wrestling offense of Becker. Becker is looking a little fatigued. I mean, those grappling exchanges take a lot out of you. And Ruffin doesn't look too demoralized from that first round. Oh, beautiful body shot. Oh.
Pat Becker taking a couple shots right there, trying to find the hips. Ruffin wise to it.
Yeah, great job stuffing the takedown there, but he allowed Becker to get in on that body lock, which is, you know, not a good control from here. But he's done a good job negating it. I'd like to see him swimming those underhooks. You know, he's fighting the head battle, which is, you know, the first step. But he needs to start working on getting an underhook here and breaking that grip of Becker, because Becker is strong in this position, you know. But no, beautiful work to switch it up a little bit coming into the second round here from Ruffin.
Kris Ruffin stated that his go-to move is a cartwheel kick into a rolling thunder. Had to imagine that was more of a joke than anything else.
I sense some satire in that.
Would be crazy if he threw that. That'd be a great combo.
Hey, I mean, if we get in the third and he's down 2, I say go for it.
He did also say that, you know, when he wrestled at 260 pounds in college, right, he's trimmed a lot to come down to welterweight. His first fight in mixed martial arts was also at heavyweight, 260. He said he's pulling a Jared Cannonier.
Yeah, he's doing a great job here of negating Becker's takedowns. I don't love him hanging around on this neck in this position because he's not under the neck. Oh, I might have spoken too soon.
Pat Becker now trying to address the submission, pops the head out. But Kris Ruffin deep in on the inside, throwing some shots at the 40-year-old. Pat Becker.
Beautiful job here using the submission to threaten him, to give him something else to think about, causing him to let go of that leg and enabling a scramble. But we're back in that position with the body lock, and he can't hang around here because he's just eating up the round. you know, I'd like to see him when he does break from those positions, maybe pull back and like start landing those shots that he was having success with at the start of this round. I think he's just allowing that gap to close too quickly with Becker. And I feel like he would have a lot more success in the striking exchanges.
Pat Becker, through 2.5 minutes, has struggled to ground the Senator Kris Ruffin. What can Becker do to increase that grappling success?
Yeah, I mean, he's doing a good job. He started putting the knees up there, giving him something to think about. I think that's all it really is mixing the strikes in to set up the grappling. You know, if your opponent knows that all you're doing is hunting that leg, he only has to worry about that leg. You know, if he broke it through some shots, reshot in, I think that would make that takedown a lot easier in this position. But, you know, Ruffin's not doing the best job at breaking here. I need to stop saying that.
Kris.
Beautiful job from Ruffin here with those strikes. I think if he keeps it at striking range, he's piecing apart Becker here. And honestly, Becker is looking tired and he's looking hurt. So I think Ruffin just needs to keep it at that distance.
A lot of labor movement from the Wildland firefighter. Ruffin goes high. Becker diving for the hips.
Ooh,
a lot of elbows
there. And that also goes back to what I was saying about adding some shots in there from Becker to give Ruffin something to think about. You know, if you're just holding on to those legs, like Ruffin's throwing those elbows with careless abandon because he's not worried about getting hit. So I feel like I'd like to see Becker kind of mixing in some strikes to kind of allow those level changes, mixing up the levels like we saw in the earlier fights, you know, the guys breaking, throwing some body shots, reshooting, engaging. And then from Ruffin, like he did a great job of breaking off, but he kind of like, he gets a little bit ambitious, throws a little bit too heavy, closes that gap and falls in, and that allows Becker to close the distance and get back to this position that he wants. So both guys are kind of helping each other out a little bit.
Pat Becker does finally ground Kris Ruffin. A little too high, though. The Senator rolling over, but Becker maintains control. Just over a minute to go. Herb Dean wanted some more action. Now he's getting it, Corey.
Yeah, beautiful job from Becker there to ride the hips and end up in that mounted position. That's kind of what we saw in the first round. You know, Ruffin rolled, trying to create a scramble, and Becker just rode it and took that mount position. Great job from him. I think this is going to seal the deal for the round here. You know, I'd like to see him throw a bit more offense. We're going into 30 seconds of the last round, so I think if he you know, lands some solid offense here, he's definitely 2 rounds up.
Pat Becker painting the forehead of Kris Ruffin with some of that crimson blood. Those lacerations around the face of Becker are presenting themselves. We'll say the Senator mentioned that the composure in his last fight, or the lack thereof, is why he lost. You can tell he's worked on that at Extreme Couture with those guys.
Yeah, definitely. You know, Ruffin has shown a lot of great skill out here tonight. He's doing a lot of the right things. I just feel like there's a couple holes in the grappling that need closing up that Becker is capitalizing on, but he did a lot better job in the second round in comparison to the first round. Closed a lot of those gaps. Great job here initiating a scramble to work up and not finish this round completely mounted.
Sort of a 50-50 right there at the end.
Yeah, I was about to say up, but he wasn't. But yeah, no, like he did a great job making some adjustments in that round, but I think Becker is too up here.
I would agree with that, but a gritty 10 minutes in the can at welterweight between the Senator Kris Ruffin and Patrick the Kurgan Becker. Feels like Pat Becker, right, when you look at the optics of it, he's labored movements, but he's very effective. Corey McKenna, walk me through these highlights of round number 2.
Yeah, Ruffin's having so much success with the striking. I would just love to see him create a little bit more space. Honestly, he landed some shots where I feel like Becker almost looked like he doubted himself for a second, and I think Ruffin needs to finish in this round. So I think if I were his coach, I think I'd like to see him with a little bit more distance, setting up those strikes with the jabs, keeping it at jabbing range, landing some power shots, and I think he can capitalize on the fatigue of Becker going in here tonight. For Becker, he just needs to do the same thing, and he's going to seal a decision. If he gets him down, I think he should be a little bit more offensive and maybe look to get the stoppage, but I think Becker's 2 up right now, so less urgency on his side, but more fatigue, which maybe Ruffin can capitalize going on into his third.
Herb Dean gets us going for a third and final round. Pat Becker, blistering pace across the octagon, deep in on the hips here. Kris Ruffin tries, but he's brought down to the feet, Corey.
Yeah, I really don't like people jumping on the neck on a double leg, mainly because I love it when people do it to me. You know, that one flu's there, it makes the takedown easier. Like, I don't love it. But both guys, beautiful scrambles here from both guys. You know, you can tell they're nice and sweaty, they're slippery, they're both just slipping out and scrambling. You know, and that might help Ruffin a little bit in this position here with Becker's control. But, you know, we're like as I mentioned, you know, Becker's just going to go out there and do exactly what he was doing in the first 2 rounds because that's a clear path to victory for him. I think we need to see some more urgency on Ruffin's side to break and to start landing these strikes.
Definitely a wet and wild start to round number 3. Kris Ruffin's lone pro victory was a second-round TKO. He has that fight-ending power, but like you mentioned, you need to work yourself into positions in order to use it. 3:55 to go, and Pat Becker is just simply in the driver's seat right now. Throwing the leg over, Kris Ruffin now trying to reach, slipping right out the back door. Can he find it? No, Pat Becker remains firmly in control. Gotta respect the 40-year-old's ability to find these offensive positions and stick on them this late into the fight.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with Becker's ability to ride this top position. I mean, as he slips off, but he's doing a great job here of kind of like riding with Ruffin's scrambles and ending up on top, or at least not ending up in the worst position. I'm very impressed with, like I say, that the way he's doing that. You know, he's switching from the mount to the back, so he just had like S mount, high mount. He's done a very good job of like riding that top position, which often we don't see in the big guys. It tends to be very like strong positional like holds and like big explosive movements, but Becker's doing a great job of kind of like riding the motion here.
Kris Ruffin needs to get some offense going and enact a game plan. Midway through round number 3, the finish is needed for the Senator. Pat Becker doing a great job at just smothering and neutralizing any path to victory for Kris Ruffin.
Ruffin's doing a good job hand fighting here. He's doing all the right things to survive, but like you say, we're halfway through this round and we're down 2.5 rounds if we're Ruffin's side, you know. So he's got to be hipping back to that cage, trying to get up with some urgency here, because Becker's just going to look to control this fight, land some strikes, and I think we're going to go to the judges' scorecards, and it's going to be a pretty clear win on his part.
You know, we talked about that motivation of having Pat Becker's kids in the building, watching him fight for the very first time. That's a father who is not going to lose when he's got his kids nearby.
Yeah, exactly. And we're looking at a very dominant display here, and a lot of heart from both guys. You know, I don't heart only speaks for part of it, and I've mentioned it a couple times, but you know, you can't teach that. Like, a lot of people would break in these positions, and Ruffin's still fighting. But I just feel like Becker's doing such a good job of controlling this fight. And as I mentioned before, like, I know a lot of people say it's not the most exciting, but honestly, I love to see stuff like this, because unless you've done it, you don't know how hard it is to control another human being that is fighting with all their willpower in there. You know, it's a very hard thing to do, and it does take a lot of skill. He's doing a great job here tonight.
A grueling and taxing pace. 90 seconds remain in round number 3. Chris Curtis and Jordan Levitt trying to urge their fighter on in the corner, but Kris Ruffin has just been snuffed out thus far in round 3.
Yeah, like I said, I'm very impressed with him here tonight. I think, I mean, Ruffin just doesn't seem to have an answer for these positions. You know, maybe being a collegiate wrestler, maybe there was a little bit of complacency. You know, maybe, like, say, focusing on the holes he had, he negated some others, or maybe Becker great job. Okay, we have a minute for Ruffin to get this fight.
Can the Senator Kris Ruffin muster up a miracle? Pat Becker charging across the octagon, trying to tie up the bigger man, deep in on the hips. 40 seconds to go, and Kris Ruffin, in all likelihood, is about to be brought back down to the canvas, Corey.
Yeah, I think so. Ruffin's just a little bit too aggressive with his strikes. Like I say, he's not forcing Becker to keep at that distance. He's allowing Becker to close that gap by loading up on his strike so much, by falling forwards and closing that gap. And, you know, Becker's just ragging into the floor here. You know, and I think that just shows the determination of him in here tonight.
Certainly a hole that Kris Ruffin will have to address moving forward with the grappling. Pat Becker just all over him as we approach the final stretch. Now some elbows from the Wildland firefighter, getting it done on the scorecards with the kids in the building. In all likelihood, Pat the Kurgan Becker, 40 years young, and what a performance. That was a gas tank for ages, Corey.
Yeah, exactly. You know, a very dominant display. You mentioned he didn't really have much of a camp, but, you know, that didn't seem to affect him going in there tonight. You know, and I don't think they could have asked for a more dominant performance there, and I think he's going to go home very happy with this win tonight.
Sometimes they say chopping down trees is the best base for mixed martial arts, potentially.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, he's physically active. You know, and Uriah likes to talk about age a lot, but that didn't seem to affect him in here tonight. And, yeah, I'm very impressed with him and his team.
Pat Becker, again, in all likelihood, now 2-0 here at Uriah Faber's A1 Combat. Can't wait to see him perform. You really don't find guys later in their competitive careers having success. 40 years young, looking like an absolute tank on top of the cage. Riverside, California, representative in the best way possible. Some highlights from the third and final round. It was mat return after mat return for Pat Becker. Kris Ruffin found some success on the feet, but the pace, pressure, and perpetual movement of Pat Becker ultimately led to the demise of the Senator's game plan. Just not a lot of areas of offensive improvement for him as this fight progressed.
Yeah, I think I'm actually about to step in there and interview Becker for you guys. But yeah, phenomenal performance here from him tonight. Very impressive display of grappling, very strong wrestling, you know, and I think he could be very happy with his performance here tonight.
We send it inside to Garrett Fertig to find out the winner in our featured prelim.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds of action-packed action in our featured prelim here at A1 Combat 14, we go to your 3 judges at cage side for the decision. All 3 judges, Chris Crail, Mark Davidson, and Jonathan Romero, all see it the same, 29-28 for your winner by unanimous decision, Patrick the Kurgan Becker.
Pat Becker gets it done on the scorecards. What a dominant performance over Extreme Couture's Kris Ruffin. We're going to send it inside to Corey McKenna for a post-fight interview.
Okay, I'm here with your winner, Patrick Becker. Patrick, amazing performance. You know, I think you must be very happy with that here tonight. I know you said coming in here that you were a little bit worried because you've been out fighting fires. How do you feel that affects you coming in here tonight?
I don't really know how it affected me. I had a fucking tough fight with a tough opponent. That guy fucking hits hard. And he's game, he can't fight. Yeah, I've been out fighting fires for the past 2 weeks. Not been in the gym, but I had to step in here anyways. It's my first fight my kids ever came to. Hey boys, take a look at your daddy. Take a look at your daddy now.
Yeah, well, I was about to mention that. I'm sure they're extremely proud of you here tonight. That was a phenomenal performance. Was that your game plan coming in here tonight? Very strong wrestling.
I don't know. I didn't know how he was gonna come out and fight me. You know, he was tougher than I thought. I can fight everywhere, you know. Of course, I'm more of a grappler at heart, you know. I just come from a really good camp, Millennium MMA. Getting a little bit older. I don't know how many more of these I've left in. Starting my new career as a firefighter. This is one of the toughest jobs in the world. That's one of the toughest jobs in the world. I don't know how long I'll be able to do both of them, but I was able to step in here one more time for my kids and for my family, all you guys. I love you guys.
Yeah, well, that was, like I say, a very dominant display here tonight. I'm sure they're very proud of you. You must be very proud of that performance. Is there anyone else you'd like to thank here tonight?
Just all my teammates at Millennium MMA, my coaches, Vince, Guzman, my girlfriend, Jackie Cataline, my wrestling coach, one of the best wrestlers in the world, taught me everything I know. And my head coach, Romy Aram, who's not here tonight, but those 3 people and my training partners, I owe everything to them.
Congratulations, that was an amazing performance.
What a win for Patrick the Kurgan Becker, 40 years young. Making the